Hello and welcome to Moticheck live webinar. Today we are covering an interesting subject, employee experience monitoring versus employee service, the trends and drivers behind them. We have very international turn up today. It seems to be an universal subject matter, so I'm very glad to cover it. My name is Martin Rajasalu. I'm your host today. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Moticheck. To cover the subject with me, I have my colleague Pille. Pille is also a co-founder of Moticheck, and though we work closely side by side on daily basis, there is actually quite a bit of distance in between two of us. I am here in Northern Europe in Tallinn, and Pille is located in the capital of Philippines, in Manila. Hello, Pille.
Hello, everyone. It's really great to see so many HR industry professionals passionate about the employee experience or building the best employee experience.
Yes, and let's go directly to our agenda. Pille, would you walk us through it?
Sure. So we will talk today about the historical background of employee service and how they evolved into employee experience monitoring. Why traditional services are not delivering anymore and how focusing on employee experience will get us closer to the reasons why people feel well or why do they feel disengaged. We also describe ways to monitor employee experience and give you some real-life examples from our clients. Addressing and improving employee experience has a huge impact to many aspects of working life. So as a conclusion, we list the most important benefits. Our presentation should take about 35 minutes, so we save 10 minutes for your questions. So please leave your questions in the chat and we can later answer them. And let's hit the road. Oh no, let's hit the employee experience.
True. And just a side mark, I think we have to say that we are recording today's session as well. So later on, we can share the video with you as well. So to start off with a background of, let's not go back to the beginning of the times when people started to ask feedback and paid attention to listen to each other. But we can see very interesting evolution of, if you just focus on current century, the evaluation of technology has supported really the transformation of satisfaction service towards the communication and relationship management that we as a human feel more natural with. So at the beginning of the century, we were still collecting the feedback and satisfaction input with a pen and paper, basically. It was time-consuming, resource-heavy, and quite far from efficiency that we can achieve today. The pulse service came along, let's say, around about 2010, and the frequency improved quite a lot, but the focus was still narrow and compromises have to be made as to what to ask, from whom, and this also brought a lot of bias with it, visual thinking, asking questions just to validate already known answers. So it really narrowed down the focus of satisfaction service and employee service. So now when we move to the current date, then globalization, COVID crisis, and most of all the development of how we use technology daily have led us to the situation where we can collect feedback daily. And we have very strong drivers to do so. A lot of uncertainty and change, distance with leaders and colleagues, replacement costs are high for talent, employer branding is a hot topic, of course, and valuable, and naturally the push for productivity and performance. There are basically two main technical approaches how to monitor employee experience continuously. One is to collect the data on how employees are using software and hardware. Those systems use artificial intelligence quite a lot and do it very well. But it's good if you pay attention to the privacy rules because they may be in conflict with the privacy rules, or at least with the expectations, because employees don't really want to be in a Big Brother show. There is another technological option as well, and that is what Moticheck is also doing, is to collect conscious input from employees, do it very frequently. For example, we do it daily, and in less painful manner than the pulse service and the service that we used 2 decades ago. And that's how we can provide the continuous AX monitoring input to leaders and organizations.
Industry experts tell us to expect an unprecedented amount of disruption and transformation. Sounds really scary. What do they mean by that? We have just recently experienced the crises that have radically changed the way we live and work, and the things happened only within a week. Now we talk about energy prices skyrocketing. We talk about geopolitical tension around, not to tell climate warming and its results. We also have changes what we do not only react to, but what we do initiate. Every new project, every new teammate or major customer or new partnership, they all have an impact on working experience of someone. So changes might be external, but can also be internal, and we need a lot of mental flexibility to accept them, not to fight them. During this transformation, we need to update our approaches, the ways we work, the solutions, and also tools what we use to support our work. So that's why we speak today about employee experience monitoring next to the traditional people service we've done so far. We are just adapting, transforming circumstances. With all those mentioned changes, the leadership challenge is getting more and more significant. We expect managers to be everything from good listener and holistic terapeut up to super calculator. How is that even possible? And the more global we grow, the longer are the distances. And the growth is something companies are aiming and driving for. But on the other hand, our post-COVID era or world has much less face-to-face interactions. We can less benefit from reading the body language and guessing based on that. There are more mental challenges around and a growing trend of loneliness. That all creates an opportunity for miscommunication. So listening to each other, doing it systematically has become really crucial. So we need to build new ways or new channels to get feedback from team members and to get it daily.
Yes, and there is also saying that, learn from the best. What we can learn from the past 2 decades is actually how social media usage has spread within the society. The way people like to communicate has changed a lot during those 2 decades, I would say. We do not write Christmas cards to grandparents only on birthdays and Christmases, but grandpas and grandmas are chatting with their grandchildren on daily basis on WhatsApp or Facebook. And people like to have a say about many aspects that involve their lives. Facebook was launched more than 2 decades ago, Twitter nearly 2 decades ago. So, there are a lot to learn from those phenomena, I would say. And if you consider the top-down communication is nice to have, but it's really the easy part of internal communication. The messages are limited to strategy or financial results. It's easy to communicate top-down. And if I would draw just a sketch here and illustrate, the triangle would illustrate the organization and the blue dots, the top-down communication. Then the information that our employees have in each levels, the amount of information is much, much larger. And it's so complicated to capture this information. The innovation happens on every management level, on every position, basically. So it's important to catch that information that our people do. They are our sensors. But with the tools from past century, most of that information would be missed. So modern tools acknowledge that there is more information out there and it is possible to capture it and turn it into a business advantage.
So it has been surveyed that only 4% of the information happening in teams is reaching the top management. So how to get that? But yeah, teams. So importance of teams cannot be underestimated. Let's go one page back. Teams. According to surveys, 78% of work is done in teams. And people who are working outside of teams, who are working alone, their engagement levels are times lower than those who work in teams. So teams are extremely important. Engagement also is built in the teams. So the quality of our team experience is actually the quality of our work experience, and much depends on it. Everything, how we work, how happy we feel, how creative or innovative we are, or even up to the fact how long do we stay with the company, depends on the experience what we have with working with the teams. And we are not talking only about the teams which are drawn down in a company org structure. We also need to pay attention to those teams which we call hidden teams. Either they are temporarily made or created for the one project or one deal, or they have some limited time. We need to make sure that also in those teams, we know that people are feeling well, that the managers of those teams are coping with the huge responsibility they have. Because again, according to the surveys, a direct manager has as big impact on our mental health as our spouses do. So it's important to provide them also the help. Services, we know them, do not meet those needs anymore. So we need to find the ways again to have a continuous follow-ups and make sure that we do not forget also about those teams, what I mentioned, those hidden teams. We borrowed the quote from John Clifton, CEO of Gallup, who has stated that global broken workplace. Sounds again very scary. But what does it mean? According to Gallup, and that's really a recent data, only 20% of people feel thriving or successful at work. About the same amount feel really miserable, and the rest in between are just coming to work. Another survey states that only 16% of people feel engaged at work. But we all have read those surveys which stress the strong correlation between engagement levels and productivity and employee well-being. So again, it's important. But what drives this engagement? Engagement score itself does not help managers to be better leaders or handle those disruptive changes and challenges. Managers need to have a better understanding of how their people feel, why they feel so, and how their assessments change during those transformational processes. More different data is needed than before. Different data is needed than before.
Okay, but then now we know where we come from and where we are in terms of expectations as well. But let's spice it up and look at the problems that our traditional services are facing. There is quite a list of them.
Yeah, so let's start with risk of timing. What is the best time for employee survey? Is it before or after organizational restructuring? We believe that best time for surveys is now and not before or after. So can we benefit from the data which is half a year old? We can, but the fresh data is always times more valuable.
Yes, the static data is not agile. I mean, growing how things were 2 weeks or 2 months ago is probably more misleading, just pure guessing, because that data does not have the background information with it. So it's very difficult to interpret it later during coming periods.
Questioning only engagement or satisfaction can easily create silos. They are important, of course, but so are many other aspects of working life. It could easily happen that we discover dropped engagement levels by the survey, but the narrow survey focus does not open up the reasons behind of this drop. It also may happen that our top management or HR team has been picking the survey topic for the year, but this appears to be not the critical topic for the rest of for the other groups within a company. So, yeah, focus should be as wide as possible.
True, and data should be really actionable. I mean, generic information such as satisfaction index or let's say employee net promoter score is not very actionable. So what if you know that your score is 7.8 or 78%? Do you know why and what should be done to change it? As the lean management model says that everybody should understand within 3 seconds what is wrong with the picture. So, you know, if you look at an index, then you don't know what's good or bad. So it's not really actionable. If you return only a single figure from a survey, it's hard to interpret.
In Moticheck, we believe that an engagement survey where we hide collective feedback behind the curtains is not actually engaging. So it does not build open culture or trust. We ask because we care and we believe in sharing the results with everyone.
And we have to look at the length of questionnaires and technology as well. Long questionnaires are not good. You know, Twitter has not limited its comments because they do not have a server space. It's just because people like to express their opinions in short dialogue. And the text should be very easy to use. You know, if you are about to read what is on your Facebook wall or browse to Twitter, nobody asks you to log in and create a new account every time you use it. So it's user experience is very important.
We all have experienced the situation where the HR team has been engaged with the survey preparation or after survey activities for a month. So first preparations and the reminders, then the presentations and spreading the extracts. This is not how it should be. So a lot of manual work versus the real outcome. And engagement building actions are by nature actually team leads' responsibilities. They should not be among HR team at all.
True. So we have a good list of things that we should improve if we are still doing annual surveys or maybe even biannual. So let's go and see how the employee experience monitoring or screening solves those issues.
Frequent questioning minimizes and continuous questioning excludes the timing risk. With employee experience monitoring, we can screen daily sentiments and reflections. It's easy to discover trends and identify implications in people assessments based on real-time events, either they are happening inside or outside of the company.
Yes, and dynamic data really enables early alerts and enables feedback on the progress. As an example, just to bring to you, most of our customers are operating in Europe, and they were directly or indirectly influenced by the breakout of the Ukrainian war, which is almost 12 months ago. So in June and July, just 3 months later, the mental health category measured by Moticheck hit a rock bottom, and many companies of our customers started to apply different kind of measures to support their employees. Starting from organizing charity to really provide medical assistance when needed. At the end of the year and the beginning of current 2023, we saw a huge gains in the mental health category for almost all of our customers and mostly for those who were more active with the mental health. So what they can see is the trend is really good feedback from them on an investment that were made. If they would just check in once a year, they could have received information and that everything is bad or that everything is good, but they wouldn't see the trend in it. So really getting early alerts and seeing the trend gives a very good input and very, very good feedback.
Monitoring typically has a wide focus, aiming to cover everything, starting from onboarding a new employees, ending up with them leaving the company. Everything from air quality in the office, ending up with the trust towards the top management. The bigger the variety of questions asked, the more detailed overview we get from people. People are here like sensors, helping us to get the whole picture and discover the development areas, but also to identify our strengths.
Asking more questions really enables to asking specific questions. And having specific results help out to understand the root cause and act immediately, or at least with a shorter delay. There is a recent article also in the Harvard Business Review which says how not to do engagement surveys. And the main idea is that do not be too general, be specific, and then you can act upon it as well.
Yeah, we ask because we care. Leadership is moving to more people-centric focus, and people are not just the components in our company's business processes. They really are the most valuable assets of the companies. And even if companies do not always act according to these statements, this is about to change. So we monitor people's sentiments, make the collected feedback accessible for everyone, and expect everyone to be part of this improving process. As a result, we can really enjoy and celebrate the transparent working environment and much higher trust levels.
Yes, and user experience really matters. I mean, people get around with social media apps very easily, not depending on a nationality or age group. So employee experience monitoring and screening solutions are rather good in imitating the principles of social media and engaging people to have their say.
Modern monitoring software usually is a fully automated system. Once it's launched and ideally also integrated to people data systems, they don't need much attention, just the opposite. System will free up time for HR team to spend on service, and managers can benefit on up-to-date data and prioritize their daily or weekly activities based on urgency, not based on their assumptions.
So let's touch upon some of the use cases to make it more practical.
We can see from different surveys that the more frequent check-ins create more higher engagement levels. So the power of one-to-one meetings with your direct manager cannot be underestimated, but we can even double its value when we in parallel also have those monitoring system up and running, and we use this collected data during our discussions. What are the ways to use those monitorings? So in general, there are good, on general level, there are good two different options for that. So if you just want to get better understanding on employee sentiment as it is today, so we can monitor short term as a minimum month, but we really strongly recommend rather to stick to 3 months minimum. because that really helps us to minimize the timing risk and get more dynamic in our data. For more systematical work on employee well-being and leadership quality, we recommend long-term continuous monitoring. That will enable us to follow trends and ask hundreds of different questions. We can get the detailed X-ray overview on how our people perceive their working life in different teams, in different locations, also in different aspects of working life. We see that a lot, that every team has its own unique issues that others might not have at all. So monitoring the full company at a time is not an only option. It could be justified to monitor just some teams or limited locations at a certain period. And to illustrate, let us give us some examples. So please imagine a media company. So the open production floor, a manager of the team, 30 plus people, has a desk in the middle of his team. And he assumed that the complaints about the air quality is just the usual office chit-chat, something to complain commonly about. So the monitoring helped him to see that this was underestimated, and it actually was a priority for those people who are sitting the full day behind the desks and not in the different meeting rooms. So it was a fast fix. It was completed within a week. But yeah, we would have been discovered it or identified the priority of it. Another example from our client, who is a real estate company and active on the cleaning industry as well. So they have thousands of employees, different locations, even different country teams. So they decided to work on leadership quality, and for that started the monitoring. But considering the fact that they have huge amount of teams, they decided to go with partial monitoring, meaning that they picked up some teams which they monitored up to half a year, and those teams then really received the full support from top management and the HR team to get the maximum result.
True, and yes, we have customers from different walks of life, and one good example I would like to bring is from an IT team of a bank. They have their own IT developers in a team, but they also have integrated external resources. So they were interested to monitor really how is there any cultural match or conflict among the employees, the ones who are on their own payroll and the ones who are, let's say, rented or external resources. And the interesting thing that really turned out was that the misalignment of expectations with a manager was larger among their own employees. Because you see, the manager was really hard-driven person and result-orientated. The external resource were paid per hour, so they were fine to do extra hours and overtime even for a long period of time. But their own employees get tired of it, and they actually had a private life too. So they started to complain about the expectation and the workload that they had. And yeah, it came out as a red flag in a quite surprising angle. So nobody really expected issues with their own employees, but it turned out that there was a blind spot that they didn't notice before. So yeah, monitoring returned good results for a company, and they resolved the issues. So let's go to the benefits that you can unlock with employee experience monitoring. I really see the employee experience monitoring as a smartwatch for the organizations. People who do sports do not go once a year to the doctors to get their heart rate measured. They have the technology for measuring it constantly. They wear a smartwatch or activity monitor. In a very similar manner, the organizations can measure their employee pulse on daily basis, maybe even on hourly basis, or at least frequently.
Yeah, what are those benefits? So monitoring covering all aspects of working life can be really powerful tools. Having an engagement or net promoter score does not improve leadership. We need to break it down into the building blocks that influence engagement and thrive at work. So we can ask specific questions about the meaning of work, trust, planned career path, and personal development. This feedback leads us to the aspects where we need to work on and strengthen our experience. So as a result, it increases. Ideally, monitoring also helps us to track those hidden deal teams.
Would you take the second bullet point as well?
Okay. Yeah, the blind spots. As experienced managers, we tend to assume that we know how things are and what our people think. Yeah, we assume. Then we have time limitations. So during our meetings or interactions, we actually concentrate on business issues. So how to cover all the rest? Well-designed monitoring also covers those work-life areas what the manager does not have time or skills, or which might be a bit sensitive, and trust is a great example here. So success in major part depends on the trust towards the team lead, but how to ask those questions face to face. Technology helps us to map also those hidden aspects and open up a lot of blind spots which need management attention. And the bigger is the variety of different questions, the more we can discover.
True, yes, and you can be really agile, react fast, and manage the change. Remember the triangle that I showed earlier? There is so much data that the direct manager can have to run the team better or to get the confidence with the team. So yeah, you can address the leadership quality on the very first levels, which matters a lot. And with improved leadership, you can open up your innovation and productivity as well. Your people are your sensors in the organization, your ears and eyes. So innovation and productivity comes within the teams, and not from top management.
During our transformational times, we need to involve everyone in fixing this broken workplace. We need the whole collective wisdom in order to thrive long term as a business. Every employee who feels that they have power to make things happen or changes happen will speak up even more and feels more engaged. The more engaged employees experience less burnouts and are much more productive. Easy, right? Plus, they stay in a company longer. As an average, it is considered that replacing one costs us a 9 months salary of the position. So there is a lot to win if we work on those building blocks of engagement. Industry experts promote addressing the company culture and building a strong employer brand to attract new talents. So having a clear mapped understanding on our team's attitudes and behaviors allows us to address those areas where we need to change something. Monitoring also helps us to identify what are our strengths. We can celebrate those internally, but also use them for outside, for attracting new people to join the company and build the employer brand. Map the as-is situation first and then follow up the results of the action made around the employer brand.
Yes, and you can save a lot of time and money. First of all, modern systems are all SaaS, meaning software as a service. You pay for the license, not for the technology as such. So you get rid of all the development cost, legal cost, hardware cost, risk as such, and it's basically the tech stuff is out of your radar. You get the service and constantly updates either on security or the functionality of it. Secondly, you don't need to work with the question translations, emails, reminders, analysis, PowerPoint presentation, or summary. Everything is online and always there. I mean, modern computing technology enables to provide the information really, literally, instantly to all the employees. So everybody will be on the same page, and it's really good time and money saved. Saying that, to list that everything, the EX monitoring will solve all your issues, it might do so, but just be aware that there is a criteria for success as well. And it doesn't come with just signing up for the software. The rollout communication is really, really important. Every employee should understand what is there for him or her. How do I benefit from providing my input? How can I design my work-life experience? Secondly, the direct leadership should take the ownership of AX monitoring. It's not the HR tool, it's a management tool. So how frequently does the manager check the results and touch upon these issues with the team? It's very important to establish the house rules and manage the expectation. A employee could write the comment or provide a feedback today and expect the response today as well. But if we have house rules that say that we will address these issues weekly or monthly, then the expectations are much better aligned. And follow-up actions are important. So actually what matters is to fix things, improve your strengths, and improve your weaknesses as well. Data is the new oil, right?
Yeah, to make it really clear and simple, care, ask, act, and celebrate.
True. So that leads us to the end of what we have prepared for you. And let's now go to the questions and comments. Pilar, would you be so kind and check, do we have anything on LinkedIn or Teams? I at least see one question out there, but are there more?
I can not see anything in the chat.
Okay, so meanwhile, I will. We are running out of time soon. So quickly, the first question: does the continuous monitoring mean that it is a month or a certain period program? It is asked. Well, the monitoring could be continuous, meaning starting at the start date and end when needed. It doesn't have to be a monthly or a 3-month sprint. It could last for years, as long as it returns value to your organization, to employees, their direct leaders, and also the general positions such as HR team. Do we have more questions on our radar? I see that few people had difficulties in logging into the meeting, yes. So we will address that separately. But if there are no questions at the moment, we would like to thank you for being with us. We hope that it was a time well spent for you. We will share the recording of today's webinar with you tomorrow. And of course, we welcome you to reach us to see how Moticheck can support your team and your organization. So feel free to email us or register for a dedicated demo session. And that's time for us to say a big thank to you, and let's keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.